Hugs. Today's family story poem is about hugs, but not just any old hug, a papa's hug. This will all make sense to you in just a few minutes, but before we get going, I'd like to dedicate all my family story poems to my late wife, Nadine, our Nana, and to our 3 children and our 9 grandchildren. Oh, and this is Abdul Squishmallow, a dear friend of Annie, my 10-year-old granddaughter. Annie said it'd be okay if good old Squish here would help me with today's performance. Right, Squish? And now, a papa's hug. A papa's hug is very important to any young girl or boy. Our papa's squeezes were special and gave us such joy. Our papa took his time. He made you stay around a while. Papa's hugs were firm and snug and always made us smile. Papa's hugs might change some from one child to another. My sister's hugs were soft and gentle, but firmer for my brother. Papa would pick each of us up, and while speaking into our ears, he'd do his 1, 2, 3 big hugs 3 times to our cheers. Sometimes Papa opened his arms up wide and he'd say, "I'm going to get you," which was our cue to run away. He would chase me as I would run straight into his den. Gentle hugs were out now, and his giant hugs were in. When I let him catch me, he would toss me up in the air. As I flew up, he would say, "How's the weather up there?" Mama would cry, "Honey, careful, our baby boy's up there. Robert's arms are not wings. Please, not so high in the air." I would laugh so hard that tears would come to my eyes. They were happy tears, and not like when someone cries. Papa would hold me tight so he could take a little rest. My 2 arms could not span the width of his big chest, but he would say to me, "Give me your super squeeze." He'd pretend that my small squeeze made him wheeze. He'd whistle and proclaim, "You passed Papa's hug test. You squeezed a squeeze that was better than the best." Then he would always point to the hair on my head and ask me, "Hey, who painted your head so red?" I would wiggle and giggle, and he would tickle me and say, "Wiggle all that you want, you will never get away." I did not want to escape Papa's strong, hairy arms. I did not want to escape Papa's wonderful charms. A papa's hug and a child contented is one of the best things heaven ever invented. Growing up, I found there were as many variations of a hug as there are people that give them and people that get them. Here we go, Squish. Have you ever had what I call the grizzly bear hug? It is so strong that you think all the air in your lungs is being squeezed out of you. Whew. The opposite of the grizzly bear hug is called the stealth hug. It is so quick and light and over with that you wonder if the hugger even touched you. Oh, and stealth hugs usually come with air kisses released into space on each side of your face. Our next hug is called the auntie hug. My Auntie Lenore was a second mom to me, my brother Jim, and my sisters Joanna and Judy. Yes, all J's. In fact, when Mom was flustered and upset and was trying to say one of our names, she would blurt out, "Joanna, Jim, John, Judy." But that's another story. Let's get back to the auntie hug. Ready, Squish? The auntie hug is a full contact wrap-around hug with a single lingering squeeze with full ear-to-ear contact, plus the special auntie part, which was to give her a 30-second back massage. Auntie would always wiggle with oohs and ahs. Next is the manly, not a hug, hug. This hug begins with a traditional handshake or wing shake. It should be firm, but sometimes it evolves into a squeeze contest similar to arm wrestling. Then the hugger and the huggee simultaneously pull each other into full body contact without losing their firm manly grip and wrap their other arm around the upper back of the manly acquaintance. No, we're not done yet. This hug that's not a hug requires the huggers to pat each other on the back like they're trying to burp each other. The harder the pat, the more manly the hug. That is not a hug, is. The patting must continue throughout the duration of this manly entwinement. When the patting stops, the hug that was not a hug is over. Okay, Squish, good. Our final hug for today is the munchkin hug. I mentioned it in my family story poem, but this hug is just too complex to explain it with just a few lines of rhyme. Squish here is going to be our munchkin. Imagine your child running up to you saying their hellos or their goodbyes. You can pick them up or they can sit in your lap. With their little arms around your neck, the munchkin hug can begin. Now imagine that you are a hug quarterback, and these are your audibles. With both arms around the trapped child, you say 3 times, 1, 2, 3, big hug, applying a good squeeze after each call. After the third audible, you confuse the wiggling munchkin's defense by saying and doing, and a pat, 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 pat. That's the snap and the chance for the munchkin to run away. Okay, Squish, the whole maneuver. 1, 2, 3, big hug. 1, 2, 3, big hug. 1, 2, 3, big hug. And a pat, 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 pat. The munchkin hug. Well, everybody, that's all I have for today. But, you know, we need to give you a Papa's hug. So since you're now part of our family here at Papa's house, wherever you are, this virtual hug is from me to you. 1, 2, 3, big hug. 1, 2, 3, big hug. 1, 2, 3, big hug. And a pat, 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 pat. You know, as I close the previous chapter of my life and open this new one, I want you to know that I felt prompted, like a calling, to share my family story poems with anyone who might listen, like you. And I don't know what all to expect by doing this passion project of mine, but if I helped bring a smile to your face, or maybe even a tear to your eye, and help you feel some comfort in what is otherwise a vast, chaotic world, then I have succeeded. Tell me if you have a special hug in your family in the comments below. Subscribe to our Papa's House YouTube channel, and please register below on our website, papashouse.com. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here at Papa's House. My name is John Hayes, and this is Abdul Squishmallow. You can call me Papa, and you can call Annie's friend here Squish. God bless. Right, Squish?